I'm super excited about today. You know, I heard a few people talking about they've been doing some webinars for their clients and prospects, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. We have some very exciting things to share with you afterwards and even during the session here. So let's start off with our classic icebreaker, and you know, just have everyone turn their videos off. I'll ask a few questions, and then if that question pertains to you, just pop your video on. So let's turn the videos off. Nice. So how many people have been, let's just say, have been providing webinars or have been doing webinars in the last 3 months? How many people have done a webinar in the last 3 months? Turn your video on if you have. Nice. So quite a few people actually. Awesome. And so everyone turn your videos off again. Now, oh, I'm going to turn mine off. So how many people have checked out our street level sales deck and recommended packages guide on our support site, and have used that deck? You know, how many people have seen that and have used that deck? Mike Corzo, 2 big thumbs up. Nice. For everyone who hasn't seen that link, Isaac and we had a little chat in the community, and I popped it in there in that chat. So in the thread for this session, so definitely check it out. And so, you know, with that, everyone can turn their cameras on. You can keep your cameras on now. But that kind of leads us into what we wanted to talk about today. And so more than just a presentation deck that includes the customer journey and some recommended packages, we wanted to create a deck that you could use for a webinar to really hit that one-to-many, and more than just spending time one-on-one with somebody. You can be providing it for a number of people. And so, you know, I don't want to ruin the Oprah moment. So after today, you know, after this discussion, you will be able to use the deck. Or here's the Oprah moment. We're going to be providing it for everyone on the call today. And after the conversation today, you know, the hope is that everybody will be able to use that deck to run their own webinar for your prospects and for your clients. It'll talk a little bit about, you know, the state of the market right now, the customer journey, and then the local business online toolkit that you can provide for them right away. So, you know, with that being said, this is a big initiative of Michael Watkins, our VP of Success, and I don't want to steal any more thunder, so I'd love to pass it off to Michael to provide us with a quick background on, you know, why we created this, how we hope that it helps our partners and your clients, and provide us with a quick maybe 10-15 minute walkthrough of the deck. So Michael, thanks for joining us. Take it away.
Cool. Look, firstly, I got to give a shout out to Ryan Mason. He said, "Where's my deck? I need a webinar deck." We've done them in the past. We know that you guys have a lot of success with webinars and different ways of doing webinars. What I'd love to do today is go through the deck super quick. Like Andrew said to me 1,000 times already this morning, make sure you keep it quick, make sure you keep it quick. But because you're going to get the deck, I'm not going to go into too much detail. Just remember that every page has a talk track, and we encourage you to take the deck and brand it your own and change some of the words to your words so that it matches your brand and what makes your story amazing in market. I often come back and reflect on, you know, what's happening at the moment. Well, yesterday our CEO came back from we had our board meeting, and the CEO was really talking about, Brendan, he was saying, you know what, this COVID situation has brought e-commerce forward 10 years. 10 years it's brought it forward. And on one end of the spectrum, we've got so many people needing help with digital marketing, and you guys are absolutely primed and ready to do it. And there's so many small businesses struggling. And so I want to make sure that when we go through this deck today and talk about the different strategies on what works for you, and so you can share where you're winning, because I know that a lot of you already have decks like this. Some of you have already got this deck. Ryan's got it. And if you have been asked to sort of customize it and play with it so we can get some feedback, big shout out to Amy, Erica, and Josh in our product marketing team who turned it around so quickly for us. But that's really the call to arms here is take some notes now as I go through this in 10 minutes. Then let's have a really good discussion about what works and what doesn't, and know that, you know, there's different yes answers to this. There's 100 different ways you could do a webinar. I've personally done webinars at least 5 different ways. I've done the one-to-one, I've done the one-to-many, I've done the broadcast version, I've done the collaborative version, and they've all worked at different times. And so just keep that in the back of your mind. If you're new to webinars, there's a lot of experience in this room as well. And so I just want to advocate for get into the community and talk it out. And then the last part about this too is making sure that we know that we have an opportunity here to communicate a message. And I want to just sort of get your ideas on how we can do that more frequently. And if there's anything else we can provide you as resources, let's get that discussion going, because we're here to help. And so while small businesses, in some cases, it's dire straits and they are struggling, and some of them are going broke, and it is absolutely sad, there's also a big need in the market, again, to reiterate that you guys are poised to provide the right solutions and the right answers, and we want to support you with that. So with that, let's get the clock rocking, and you can start shouting at me once I hit that 10-minute mark, so we get time for the good juicy stuff. So I'm going to share my screen, that one, and that one, and that one. Cool, can I get some thumbs up if you can see the screen? Fantastic. All right, so the premise too here is, you'll see your logo that is meant to be your logo, and change the color schemes as well. But I'm going to quickly talk about the agenda. So this deck, Andrew mentioned the street level sales conversation, the consumer journey, the 0 moment of truth. There's still so many businesses who don't understand how simple that is and how important that is. And so one of the big pieces of feedback that Ryan gave us straight up is like, man, you got to have that consumer journey as the start. And so what we've done here is we've created a deck that has what's changed in the world, and then goes through the consumer journey, and then ends with the local business online toolkit, which is what we're seeing is working for small businesses right now who need to accelerate adoption into digital. One of the options that you've got with this deck too is, speaking about Oprah moments, is there's an opportunity for you to do this webinar so that you've already got in the back end them already hooked up with the Express suite. The Protect Local Toolkit could already be ready, because when you're getting your lead capture for the webinar, you're getting the details to create a snapshot report and send a campaign too. So I want you to think about sort of some of those options as you go through it. But that's the agenda that we've got, and this surprise announcement you can customize yourself. But moving into the first part of the story. So what's changed? Well, we're all in sales. All of our SMBs, all of the businesses are in sales. And we're all familiar with the ABC of sales, the Glengarry quote, always be closing, right? And in this talk track, in the script that you can see here, it questions, is that the right approach right now? Is always be closing the right approach right now for small businesses that are freaking out and struggling and need your help? Well, the challenge is maybe it's not. And so with the COVID graphic that we've got here, maybe it's more about the 3 C's. And what are those 3 C's? Well, we talk about the 3 C's. Always be communicating, always be in control, and always be ready to close. And so just to start with the easy one, it's still business. There still needs to be pipeline management. We don't want to have small businesses that are not ready to close and missing opportunities to transact, because it's more important than ever for them to be able to transact right now. And so always be ready to close. Closing is still a part of this. But the 2 new pieces that we're trying to focus on with this, and would love to hear your thoughts on different ways that it works for you when you do it, is the always be communicating. Always be communicating the value of your small business to your community. If your small business isn't communicating the value of what it does, then you may be forgotten in times like this when there's so much noise, or when you can't operate and people can't come into your store and you're not communicating the value when they can. Maybe they've gone to someone else who was. And so as I go through this, I'm always going to be talking as if you're talking to your SMB. So I probably should have framed that up before, but always be communicating is a super powerful one. The other new piece we've got here is always be in control. What does always be in control potentially mean? Well, always be in control of the performance of your small business's digital presence. Always be in control of the activity. Are the reviews coming in? Is there a 5-star review that you could be posting on social with one click with the Express products right now that as a small business you can't even see, or you're not paying attention to because you've got other things on your mind? So always be in control. That resonates with me, is your business app that you're providing to your customers right now. that is a way for them to be in control. And it's a super powerful piece there. So the intro is really simple. It's about, we need to find a way to help the small businesses get back to transactions. And in some cases, they're going to be able to transact now. In some cases, they're going to be able to transact later. But what we do need to do is make sure that they're building their pipeline, they're in control, they're communicating, and they're ready to close. And so that's the general premise. And there's probably 1,000 different ways you guys could all pull in your own expertise and change that message. Then we move into the customer journey. And so this is the thing that hasn't changed. We've spent the last 12 years together educating people. They need a website, they need to manage their reputation. That's still the same. What has changed though is there's been a period where people have had more time to think about it. What I'm worried about is when the dust settles and small businesses go back to business and they open up, what do small businesses do? They get busy doing their craft. They get busy doing business. Are they going to get busy going back to paper? Is it going to be harder for you in the future if you haven't already set this foundation to get them started? Is it going to be harder to get them to connect? And I think that's a risk, especially when, if they go back to business, a lot of them are going to be, I'm back in business, great, I'm behind. I'm behind already, I got to catch up. And they're going to get busy doing what they do well. And so I just want to make sure we get these webinars out so that we have the opportunity to educate while they've got time to listen, and to try and keep it really simple. There's not 150 products in Vendasta. It's really not about the 150 products at the moment. It's about just what they need to get started, so they can be tiptoed, step through it. So the consumer journey, I'm just going to skim through really quickly. The path to purchase, the first moment of truth, the second moment of truth, but more importantly, the zero moment of truth. Aligning the product stack and not missing opportunities is still more important than ever. And again, remember, if you're not familiar with this, we do have the talk track underneath it, and you can practice with your growth specialists as well if you want to do it, and absolutely share ideas in the community on different ways this works. I know a lot of you are getting a lot of success from this. But after we go through the journey, we've got the demo time. So what would be super amazing is if in this time you could say, hey, you know what? I use the business app myself, and like, here's how I can see when I connect my Google My Business, how many phone calls are coming into my agency. Or here's how I see a 5-star review, and in that one click, I pop it on social, and that card looks beautiful. Or here's how I say thanks to my customers to make sure that I'm getting extra pipeline on the top of my funnel. And here's how I work through the consumer journey. So that little demo is designed to be maybe a 20-second or a couple of minutes, just a little teaser, because then after that, we move into the local business online toolkit. And it's really the feature story here. This is the tool that's going to help you help them. And it starts with the story around local does matter. So it comes back to local matters. 50% of our entire workforce is SMBs. It's really important that we help them transact. The other thing that's changed is January and February were looking great. It was a cracker year. And everyone was optimistic. A small business has been really smashing it in the last few years in particular. They've really been able to, fight against the big guys in town. And that's really in part thanks to you as agencies who are helping them with the craft on how to compete in this digital landscape. You're creating opportunities for them to be better connected and execute better. And so kudos to you for that. And that's a really important story, because you're only in this game too because you care. And we care as well. And so it talks about how there's still this gap. The gap's still there. Only 56% of SMBs have even claimed their Google listing. In your system, it's one click, and then the value comes. You still got a massive gap on websites. I talked about how, Brendan King's talking about 10 years. He believes it's brought e-commerce 10 years forward. That makes a lot of sense. I remember the Google mobile, how long has it been that Google's been trying to get everyone to get a mobile website, and still we got 64% of small businesses who don't even have a website that works properly. And the other big part here is the uncertainty of where to go. And so having them come to you and having you have a focused program for how they can get started and keeping it really simple is super important part there. So then we move into the toolkit, and this is where you put your logo on your app that they get access to, which is a super powerful app. And I've seen some of the ones that the team have done here, like, and some of our partners have already put branding in it. And this deck looks really schmick when your logo's in it and your color scheme's in it. There's some really cool things. This one looks a little bit boring at the moment. It's a bit of a shell. But the Protect Local Toolkit, you're probably familiar with the elements. And so here we've got the elements that introduces the app, and there's a talk through for the app. It talks through the online toolkit, which is essentially the components that you're giving to them for free so they can better connect and engage with their customer base. And we go through each of those items. E-commerce is a big piece, and the ability to do that simply with templates, all the way through to the benefits of just the executive report. And the surprise moment that you could offer to your customers is, hey, you've already got access to it. Let's get started. I've already set you up with access to your app, and they can get in and get dirty. And so what's the potential call to action that you could use here? The potential call to actions that you could have are to your SMBs. Look, all I want you to do is check out your new app. Check it out. Get in there. Connect your GMB and just unleash all of those benefits so you can see and be in control of what's actually happening and what's not. Go and schedule a post on your social, because that calendar view is amazing and it's super easy, and that helps you communicate and your story to your customer base and respond with a positive review with thanks. Go and thank one of your customers that have been a customer before, to just remind them that you're still here and remind them that you care. And absolutely, as your trusted agency, give me a call if I can help you with anything. And so that's the story. This, we timed this with Erica, and this could be a 30-minute preso with more demo and conversation. It could be a 45-minute, more of a preaching conversation. There's a few different options here on how you turn this into yours. At the bottom of this template, after the thank you, we've got a couple of other slides. We do see some businesses, some of our partners having a lot of success with going straight into the features and benefits. I suppose it depends on your pipeline and how mature they are within your organization. If they've already been across some of this, you may be able to do some webinars or decks on this one where you go into a bit more detail. But for other small businesses that are struggling, this may be an opportunity to open up new conversations and create more of a pipeline for you. So we've put all of the slides here so you can use your discretion. And as Andrew mentioned, as of today, we're going to post this link to the white label one into the community forum, so you can download it, make a copy, and tweak it. And we'd love for you to share it back with us and share your insights on what you're doing that makes it work for you, so we can continue to provide more resources aligned with that. The other big thing that I do get a lot of feedback on, and I'm so thankful that our PMM, our product marketing team, have done it, is those white label videos are gold, right? And so there's a white label video that the SMB can watch and learn from as they dabble in, connecting things. And that's going to be a really big time saver for you. But that's the deck end to end. I hope I got it in time. But I'm going to throw it back to Andrew to really start this conversation on what your experiences have been with webinars and how you can win with webinars in general.
That is wonderful. Thank you, Michael, for walking through that. What do you guys think? For the people who have the video on, 1 thumb, 2 thumbs, partying, nice. See a lot of thumbs, so that's good. There's a lot of conversations that we could have around the local business online toolkit. If anybody isn't familiar with that, definitely reach out to your Vendasta rep, because that's something that you can take to your clients and your prospects today. So make sure to follow up with that. But I do want to keep the conversation focused around webinars for today. I just wanted to maybe ask a question to the community. There were a few people that had early access to this deck to walk through it this week with some clients and prospects. I'm wondering if anybody on the line here who had the deck. I can see Mike, you're raising your hand. We'd love to hear some feedback from you.
Can I share my screen?
Yep.
All right. First of all, thanks for the deck. I love it. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we have your screen there.
So here's my takeaway. One, the deck is great, and it should be customized based on your voice. I mean, I edited a lot of the copy, but I kept the slides generally as they were. My point and my takeaway is that the money is not in the webinar. And, from what I've learned, the money is in the pre and post webinar activity. Yeah. So what I'm outlining here and what I'll share with everyone, I'll post this somewhere because I'm still formalizing this, is that first, when you create a webinar, so I will announce the webinar, and then creating it is when we actually do the webinar, we'll record it. But before that happens, before that date, so my first webinar will be next week, and I haven't picked the time yet. But so before, all that pre-webinar activity is announcing before, and then reminding the day of, and then announcing that there's a replay. That should say replay right there. And then what I'm using to do all of those things is I'm sending out email, and I'm using a great Chrome extension called Mailshake, which if you don't know about it, it's awesome. Check it out. I'm also creating a new campaign within Partner Center, basically just editing some of the existing campaigns, but with the announcement of the webinar as the,
Nice.
the lead-off part of the campaign. Then I'm also hitting all my first-degree connections. I've got like 2,000 first-degree connections in LinkedIn, and I'm using Duck Soup as my tool to make those connections, and I totally recommend that product as well. And then on social media, I'm using social marketing within my Partner Center. I'm in my Business Center because I have Ruvio set up in the Business Center. So I'm using the social marketing tool to post not just to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Google My Business, but also my LinkedIn business page, my Facebook business page, a LinkedIn showcase page. So there are really 7 or 8 plus Instagram where I'm announcing it on social media. So that's before the webinar happens. So I'm getting people, you know, I'm telling them about it three times, several ways. Then during the webinar, like I said, I record it. After the webinar, it's recorded. So now I put it up as a blog post. And I also I'm going to upload it to YouTube. And again, because this is the first webinar I'm doing with this great deck that you guys put together, you know, I'll share all the results with you as we go along. And I should just say that what I've learned is that when I say the money isn't in the webinar, the reason being that most people are not going to show up. You may put this out to 1,000 people, and 10%, maybe 100 people are going to register, and really only 10 people might show up. So it's really deflating. And I learned this in the past. You might feel like, well, what am I doing a webinar for? No one's showing up. Well, the whole point is forget about the results of the actual webinar itself. You got to focus on everything you're doing before, during, and after. So again, after the blog post, uploading it to YouTube, uploading the deck to SlideShare, taking out the audio, maybe you use iMovie or some other tool, and then upload it as a podcast in iTunes, and then repeat A for now that you've done all this stuff, you go back to A and do the same thing. You announce to all of these people via email, LinkedIn, social media that this is that you've uploaded this webinar, and that's really 1/10 of the process. This is the big kicker right here. You edit the webinar into like 6 chunks, like short 5-minute, maybe 3-minute, 5-minute pieces, each with a keyword that you can promote, utilizing SEO. So you're now doing the same thing, this whole process again, 6 more times, and you do one of these webinars every month. So this webinar, you guys have totally invigorated me to start doing this with what you have in the sales and resource materials and support, which is great. So it's overwhelming how much material is in there and how we can repurpose it. So 1 webinar a month, easy, with all of the material we have in the resource center, whether we focus on customer reviews or listings or SEO or email, whatever it is. So now, if I'm not going too long, Andrew, you just cut me off if you feel like I'm going too long.
This is great. I mean, I really like your idea here, and it was a question I was going to have for the group, and I would love to hear other people's feedback on, how they get people to the webinar, because it's great. You want people in the webinar, of course, and I love what you said about post-webinar and the way that you're repurposing the content and enabling and allowing the webinar content and conversation to live on for a longer period of time. I think that's really smart. And it's very similar to responding to a review, positive or negative. It's not just about the person who left the review, but all of the other people who are going to read it and see that you care. I really, really appreciate you bringing up these insights and how you're going about it and repurposing this content so it can live on in many different ways. Great idea. I'd love to hear what you have next here. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe
so
a few more minutes and then
because I just realized I left out the most important part.
this is great.
I'm going to show you two landing pages I created. This is the webinar registration page that I'm going to send people to, and then this is the confirmation page. And I've got two short videos, which I'll just run through. They're very short. But the most important thing, you're announcing, when you announce the webinar, you've created a landing page. So this is my landing page. This is a draft landing page. I haven't really doctored it up yet, but it's almost there. This is the key thing. This is the most important thing. You're not looking to get people necessarily to attend the webinar. You're looking to book an appointment with them. And that's the point of well, let me, I won't play this whole 2-minute video here. Let me share computer.
Digital marketing designed for local businesses trying to cope during these uncertain times. Business has changed. Local business has been hit hard, and you need to survive. In this webinar, I'll focus on the three.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, we can hear that.
So the whole point is I'm just highlighting
C's, 3 concepts that will make all the difference in your business and life. We'll also take a deep dive into the customer journey.
So I'm just highlighting in 2 minutes what the whole webinar deck shows us, and at the end I go to
you'll get free access to during the webinar. Social marketing, a simple, scalable social media management product for local businesses. Reputation management, one of our most obligations. Just click the link below and we'll talk soon. Thanks a lot.
Oh yeah, so here's the key. Here's the key thing.
Absolutely. In that case, book an appointment ahead during these uncertain times. And one last thing, I understand that some of you just don't have the time to attend all the valuable webinars that have been scheduled. In that case, book an appointment with me and I'll give you my undivided attention and best recommendations during a 30-minute call. Absolutely no obligation. Just click the link below and we'll talk soon. Thanks a lot.
So one more thing here. So I have the link to my Calendly right there. And here is the snapshot form. So this is for when I'm sending it out to people who are not in my account list, who I don't have signed up yet. I'll have a different form, a different landing page, which will just be a constant contact email capture for anyone new. I'm sorry. This is for new people. I'll have another form which will be for all of our existing accounts, people that are in my pipeline, and it'll be a constant contact form for them to fill out. So they will just put in their information and then I could follow up with them knowing that they're already in my account. So if you give me just 1 more minute, this is the confirmation. And again, this is key because the whole emphasis here is getting them to book an appointment. If I send this out to thousands of people, which I will do through all my channels, and I get just 30 calls, 30 appointments, I'm going to close at least like 3 to 5 of those in the month. So, I'll consider it a success. But here's the confirmation. It's very short.
Hey, it's Mike. Thanks for registering for the webinar. It's going to be great. If you're like most companies, you want to know how everything works, but you really just want someone who knows what they're doing to do it for you. If that's you, then I offer you the opportunity to schedule some time and we can talk about how we can execute this for you and your business. Just click the link below and we'll talk soon. Thanks a lot.
So again, that brings you down to a link to my Calendly. And that's basically all I got.
Nice. That is awesome, Mike. Thank you for sharing. There's a few things that I really like that you did is, repurposing and using the snapshot report, to have people sign up. Then you can put them on a drip campaign automatically. And then their account is created in Partner Center and you're notified and you can follow up. And I think that's a brilliant idea. And even just in regards to the messaging, I like how you said, if you don't have time to attend all of these webinars, I'm seeing so many webinars.
Hey, it's my course.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a great idea, just to say, if you don't have time for all these webinars, book some one-on-one time, and I'd be happy to help. I think that's really great. I would love to hear from others, you know, in the group here, what do you think about
Hey, it's Mike.
Mike's approach here and getting people into the webinar and the lead generation and the process that he has? Oh, have you guys froze on me? There you go.
I think it's great.
Have you
Thank
done
you for
something
sharing
similar?
that, Mike.
Have you done something
pleasure.
similar, Amy, or
I have
you?
not, no, but I am super energized and really excited. So this will be my project for next week for sure. So I'll keep you guys posted. What I think I'm going to do though is to take it another step further is create these for my lighthouse clients so that they're really specific to talking to those, even though it's the same content that I would be sharing from one lighthouse client to the next, maybe with a few tweaks. I think branding it to those lighthouse clients would speak a little bit more directly to them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try that out.
Yeah. And Amy, for the folks on the line who may not be aware of the lighthouse strategy, would you maybe offer the group a quick 60 seconds about what the lighthouse strategy is and maybe how you chose your lighthouse?
Sure. I'll try not to botch it because it's a newer concept to me. I mean, the idea isn't new, but the grading system was kind of new to me. Mm-hmm. So I took the last, I had like 80 clients that I've worked with that are active clients right now. So I took those, put them in a spreadsheet, and then I had 3 columns in which I graded them. And they were, how easy are they to work with? And then the grading system is like 1 to 5. And then in each of the columns, they were, how easy is it to work with them? How easy is it for my team to execute the work? And then trying to think now, how much of an influence are they within the industry? Mm-hmm. I think those are the 3. Correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody's done this, but I'm going from memory. So after I did that exercise, which took me a lot of time, but it was so worth it, because then in my 4th column, I had the total. So if it was 5 being the best, and it was like 5, 5, and 5 in each of those columns, then that would be a 15 point, the maximum amount that client could get. And then I would take all of my 15s and 14s and then start to just kind of look and see, okay, is there a crossover? Because then I would filter them in that spreadsheet with their industry. And so I would look for crossover. So I have like a lot of 15s in like the medical, healthcare industry, and I have some in the home services based industries. So like contractors and that. So then I started to really see that repeat pattern. Then what I did was I used, I have quite a few reviews from them, but on the ones that I really want to use as my lighthouse client, I reached out to them using customer reviews and then asked them, to just was very clear with them. I'm looking to build my business and grow my business. And you can help me by giving me a positive review so that other people know like how I'm helping you. Yeah. And then, so I'm using the tools to help me as well. So that's like how I'm starting to identify my lighthouse clients, because I've been doing this for like 20 years. Yeah. So I have a lot of different clients. So it was really hard for me when somebody says, who's your lighthouse client? I'm like, well, who isn't? Yeah. But this system has allowed me to really focus in on that. Yeah. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing. And for those on the line, that was a strategy presented to us by Dennis Yu in the think tank sessions. So anybody who's interested in learning more about identifying your lighthouse client and going through that exercise, be sure to check out the think tank in the Conquer Local Academy. You'll find all the recordings and resources there. So thank you for sharing, Amy.
Sure.
I would love to hear from others. Maybe, is there anybody else who had early access to the webinar deck that that provided a webinar this week that had some feedback on how it connected with their SMBs or their prospects? And that's all right if you know, if nobody did, or if there isn't any feedback. I would love to hear from others. Cindy, if you're still on the line, Cindy and Shelby, I know that you said that you've been providing webinars. Would you be open to providing the group here in the community with some insights on how you've been running webinars and what you've been finding successful and some of the challenges maybe?
So basically, with Reader Media, we've been doing weekly webinars, and it's just like an outstretched hand to try to help businesses strengthen their online presence, of course, and you know, enlighten people on why you implement these tools and things like that. In order to get people to sign up, we've had a lot of success sharing into our local groups. So going on social media, on Facebook, they have groups, you know, in Fallbrook and Temecula, and there are tons of groups, and everybody is super active on them, especially right now. We have a lot of extra time on our hands. So we'll share our announcement posts that we put on Facebook into those groups, asking people to sign up. And then also Kyle is here. He's a member on our team. He's been doing our email campaigns, and we've seen success with that as well. So yeah, that's basically what we've been doing. Just kind of breaking it down into smaller pieces. So we use the 5 pillars stack, where we're breaking it down with, you know, starting with the snapshot report and what it does, gave an overview, and then the next one we did listings, the next week reviews, things like that. So.
Mm-hmm. And that was part of the email drip campaign that you had?
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah.
Nice. And how are you finding it, having a webinar once a week?
I think that it really gets the team involved. We've had a lot of our members on the line, and so we've stayed connected, like all of us together, and super motivated to, you know, keep everything going. So having it every single week, I feel like keeps us on task and keeps the train moving forward. So. Yeah.
And one thing that I heard you say, that Michael said as well, you know, present while they have time to listen. So I heard you say, you know, while we have time now, you know, so do business owners. You know, it's a wild time that we're in, interesting time, but, you know, maybe, you know, they do have time to listen, and it's a great time to actually increase activity by connecting with them right now. So it was interesting to hear that from you, Shelby, as well, because I heard Michael say that.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. It sounds very similar, you know, sending out some email drip campaigns, getting people in, and some specifics.
I want to can I add a couple of points too? I really like Mike's got a really polished acquisition process strategy, right? Which is really good. There's also another end too, where if you've got existing customer bases, there's certain tolerances that they'll have. It can be less formal. It can be less broadcast, especially if you're doing it on a regular basis. It could just be very similar to a chat like this, where you're bringing in your customers and you're using it as more of an education piece. So just wanted to frame up too that, you know, there's a few different ways you can do this. I've had a number of conversations with large organizations in certain communities too, where the question I ask is, who's in the geographical community? If you're a business which your agency has the right to be seen in your local area geographically as the one that's helping them protect local, are you able to capture that? And are you able to reach out more openly and less so much on an acquisition point of view, but more so on giving them access and engaging them with the tool, is that going to work for you? And can you be the agency that is the hero in that space? And so with that, I know that there's different agencies in the room right now. Some agencies are very well established and have a lot of proven portfolio and testimonials all over the place. And there's other agencies that are starting up. One of the things too here would be to leverage the current situation and give some stuff away too, so that you can start a portfolio with some of these express products, because that enables you to truly help some small businesses. And linking to Amy's comments around, if you can think of your lighthouse and work that out, or if you work out your ideal customer, maybe you could target some local community, small businesses that don't have a good digital strategy, help them out with a toolkit, start doing a bit of work for them, so that then they can also become part of your story in your market to help accelerate some of that acquisition pipeline that Mike's talking about too. So just wanted to frame that up too. Maybe anyone else has some experience around existing networks, BNIs or chambers, that they've been able to get a much higher strike rate on attendance because of that community network.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just add to that?
Yeah.
Because that's, Michael, I'm glad you brought that up, because I just got 3 clients over the past month, all from one presentation I did at a local co-working space. So I'm going to look to do more workshops. I was just leading a short workshop. I literally was speaking for 10 minutes on SEO, and I got 3 clients across the board from that. So I'm going to do co-working spaces. I'm going to go, I've been networking with chambers as well, and other business associations. In fact, this big business council in Westchester that I'm a part of, I got a client from there just by attending a open, networking session with them.
Nice. It's fantastic. Who else has been running some webinars or some strategies, tactics for getting good attendance? Mike, I do like how you brought up, it can be quite deflating whenever you put it out there and you say, hey, we're going to have a webinar, it's going to be fantastic, there's going to be so much value, but then maybe only a few people show up. I think generally we see about maybe 30 to 40% of registrants who will attend, from registrants to attendees. So that's a general okay, that's a general, sorry everybody, that's a general benchmark that I heard from our webinar team. So for anybody out there who wants to add some benchmarks to their workflow.
I have a thought, Andrew, and a question. Yeah. So hi everyone, I'm Josh. I'm a product manager at Vendasta, but I also wear an agency hat and I serve some small businesses. And one of the things that I've noticed in the last couple of weeks, actually Brendan King, our CEO, had said something about 4 weeks ago that I thought was really stupid that turned out to be totally right. He said, it was 4 weeks ago, he said, right now is the perfect time to start an agency. And I was like, are you crazy? Like, businesses are going to have to shut down. Like, there's going to be way less. And it turned out that even for me, I just serve a small number of clients. All of them had to crank up the gears. They all were calling me and being like, okay, I need to figure out this curbside pickup thing. I got to figure out how we've got to start selling things online. My one client, he does glass. He's up in the middle of nowhere, northern Manitoba. And he had me put a web page on his site for sneeze guards, because he had one client in a small town ask him if he could do a sneeze guard for their grocery store. He's like, can you put a page on the site? The site exploded. It was it went from getting 100 views a day to 2,000 views a day because of that one keyword. And then he's like, okay, I have to, I'm getting calls from Hawaii. How do I sell to Hawaii? So one of the really big topics, and maybe this links to webinars and things, I'm curious to hear if anyone's doing webinars, what are the big topics that have suddenly shifted that you might want to do a webinar about? I know for me, e-commerce is the big one, because the clients I work with are suddenly thinking, how do I now sell online? And how do I communicate with my clients online? Is there anything else that anyone is feeling is striking right now?
Everything they don't know.
Yeah,
just to add to that, Josh, what I'm hearing is maybe the next white label webinar deck you're going to build for us might be one on e-commerce for us.
Maybe.
Would that be something that would be beneficial to our partners? Do we have a raise of hands if we want it to be e-commerce, or if there's a few hands there?
Yeah.
I
Cool.
can see, Dale, you unmuted your mic. Do you have some feedback for the group here?
Hey guys, yeah, it's Dale, and it's funny you mentioned Northern Manitoba because we're in Dauphin, Manitoba, which is near there with Grow Media Group here, and yeah, we seen a big rush for e-commerce setups, and yeah, it'd be great to have a little more information. The small business owner and myself, I'm guilty of it because I've ran a business myself for the last 10 years. Is a lot of them are wanting to be jumping on to the big platforms in the e-commerce sector. So we definitely would appreciate a little more info of how we can best supply that to them and set them up for success. Thanks.
Nice. So one question I have for you, Dale, is how do you keep your beard so tight? It's looking very very clean there. Mine is going a little bit like a winter beard, like a Santa Claus beard, but
You know, you've set me up for a perfect plug because just go to prairiesupplyco.com, which is one of my business, and we'll help you make sure that your beard's looking well crafted. There's some cool products on there that will do that, but it's not by chance, it is by design. It's funny, I had a beard similar to your size at one point. I thought I'd get into this, and it slowly keeps getting cut down a little bit. But
yeah, I can't wait for the barbershops to open up. But hey, you're always delivering value, so I appreciate that, Dale.
Yeah, thank you.
Aaron, I can see that you unmuted yourself. We'd love to hear from you there.
Yeah, just a quick question. This is a little bit off topic of webinar, but following up on the e-commerce question. Dale, you mentioned a minute ago the e-commerce blowing up and guys talking about getting on big platforms. We work with clients getting them onto Amazon, which is a little bit different twist on the agency side of things. And that is definitely something. We had a fellow reach out from Ontario. He just had, one product. He just started last fall selling in a few retail places, and he was really excited about getting on Amazon. And I guess I'm trying to get a feel for some of these smaller businesses. They're wanting to do, some are wanting to go kind of WooCommerce kind of idea, WordPress website, that kind of thing. But with what people are seeing with the e-commerce explosion, are people talking about the bigger platforms like Amazon, or are most of them focusing on things like Shopify?
Just to clarify, was that a question for Dale or for
just anybody? Because I know that e-commerce is becoming a really, everybody's trying to go e-commerce, right? Like with all the shops shut down, they're trying to sell either through their own website or look like Dale mentioned, for some of the bigger platforms, and Amazon is, well, the biggest. But there's a lot of challenges kind of in the way, and I guess what I've been trying to figure out is where are some of these smaller companies going, these smaller businesses going? Are they focusing more on the smaller e-commerce, selling their own, shipping their own products, fulfilling their own stuff, or are they is there more of a move towards those bigger platforms? Because Amazon sales have absolutely gone crazy in the last few months.
Anybody have some feedback on that in regards to e-commerce for Aaron there? I don't have much myself. I don't know if maybe Michael, do you have any?
Well, I can talk to WordPress and WooCommerce are smashing it from a volume point of view as well. So is Shopify. One of the benefits of WordPress is that it does give so much flexibility. Within the Vendasta ecosystem, we also offer Duda and Mono sites too for those who do want the more templated walled garden piece as well. With the website Express, one-click e-commerce, as a free starting point, I would absolutely recommend that that's where you start. Just one of the issues with e-commerce is SKUs. It's they're getting the products into the platform, and so if you can just make it easy so that the platform's there, and you can get it started, and so then you can fill it with just a couple of things. We heard the story from Rylan, where when he first launched that story, the amazing story site for his uncle, they didn't go with many products. I know because I bought a product as soon as he launched it just to test the flow on how cool our website express product was. And then the next day there were even more products there, and part of me was like, oh man, I got to buy some more stuff. But that's probably a really important key is there's a reason why SMBs haven't done e-commerce before. They've been busy and it takes a bit of time. And so just getting them started with the few of their core products that they know they can sell now that are highly profitable. Another big thing is the gift certificates. Find other ways for them to get revenue, and then let it build over time and upgrade over time. I think that's probably, it's got to be my recommendation is start with the website express and go up as soon as they're ready. There might be other points of view. There's some hands.
Yeah, I like that, Michael. So if anybody wants to get that customer experience of going through the e-commerce and you're into comics, definitely check out amazingstoriescomics.ca and you can go through the experience for yourself. I love that you went through that, Michael. That's fantastic. So Mike, I can see that you have your hand raised. I just want to get to Robert quickly here. He had something that he wanted to share. And then we'll try to get to you, Mike, before we close out the session here. But Robert, we would love to hear your comments and feedback.
All right, great. Actually, it's maybe directed to Mike. We are in the process right now. It's funny, we were just talking about this morning about moving into this space with respect to webinars. And now that we have this slide deck, it's going to make it a lot easier for us to deliver, a message. What I'm curious about, though, before we go to market in terms of how we're promoting this, I like your strategy, Mike. I think you're natural in front of the camera. All right, I like that a lot. But I'm curious, what I've read and what I've learned is that when you're asking someone to fill out a form, an online form, you want to try to keep the fields to a minimum. The snapshot widget, what you're displaying is the first page of that. Because once they click the button, it takes them to a second page, which then has more information that they have to fill in.
Only if their business can't be found.
Only if their business can't be found?
Yeah, so if their business is found, if they start typing and it populates the name of the business, that's it. You hit submit and it's done. You only get that second page if if it says can't find your business, you hit yes, and then it brings you to that long form.
Is that the way it works? Okay. Because then what I'm wondering, and I'd love to get some feedback from the group, if we were to announce that by filling out the form, you'll get a business snapshot report or something like that to kind of get them motivated to fill it out, and then also maybe add verbiage which says that at the end of the webinar or the session that we'll be giving away a gift to all participants, something like that, since we know we're talking about the toolkit. Do you think that might be a viable strategy to get people more compelled to show up?
Yeah, I'm still kind of trying to figure out how much I want to talk up the free analysis, the free snapshot report, and free access to the dashboard. I may work that in, but yeah, I mean, that's definitely something valid, or you can just offer like a free download of something, just repurpose one of the materials in the sales materials center, sales and materials.
I can also just add to that, Mike. I've got an example from this week, and again, remember that there's different things that will work, and there's different things to do it, ways to do it. The benefit of the snapshot widget too is we had a customer who did a webinar this week. They had about 400 in attendance, and they used the snapshot widget as the hook. The benefit of the widget was it created the account group already in the system and had the snapshot report ready. And then absolutely their next progression is the Express Toolkit, as they're actually going with it as a paid option. So you could go with it as a paid option, or you could go with it as a gift. To your point, Robert, you've got that flexibility to do both. And then you've got the $199 Pro version package too, which is another really closely aligned upgrade path without any extra complexity. It's a straight up. But they had 164 people take them up on their Express option. So they generated $2,500 worth of revenue off that one webinar alone and created a big pipeline path. So some of that automation with getting the account in the system, sort of to Mac's point too, that the value source also pre and post the webinar, but getting an account in the system gives you them access to the business center, your business center, so that then they can start getting value. Even if you don't want to do an aggressive upgrade path straight away, you've got that flexibility to choose those options and pivot based on your community. And there's some communities there that are still really struggling, that selling aggressively is just not cutting through. The tone's not matched up, and so it really depends on your market, and if it's more about value first or solution first. The great news about the app, as we all know, is that if there is someone who has a need, they're going to reach out to you pretty quickly, because you've made yourself present, and so there's always that opportunity to be ready for the close. But just wanted to share that example, because they did a very similar sort of thing with the widget. So have a play with it.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. So we're just after what we have scheduled. Mike, I would love if you have a quick comment that you want to get in to close out the meeting.
Yeah, it would be great. We're talking about future topics for webinars, and Michael mentioned Ryan with that WooCommerce Express, e-commerce express product. Wouldn't it be great if we can get a webinar highlighting his his whole process, and even include maybe his voiceover? It would be nice to have a webinar where we just kind of put Ryan up there with the highlights from his talk. We can edit it down, I'm sure, 50% of what he was saying, but really just hit the main points as to how quickly and easily you can create a store.
Mm-hmm. Like specific to e-commerce, Website Express, Website Pro. Got it. Yeah. Appreciate that feedback. And, thank you to everyone for joining. We really appreciate your time. We appreciate you, sharing your insights and really being an engaged member in the community. And, always want to give thanks. So let's give it up for the people who worked on the webinar deck. There was quite a few people who put a lot of effort into that to make it something that, you guys can use right away to engage, at a larger scale potentially. So, we'll make it available. And we would love to hear any feedback as you're working through it. It's your deck, just like Michael said, cut it up however you'd like, add your logo, add your information, and we would love to hear from you for how it's working. Kathy, I can see your finger up. Did you have a final comment here?
I just have a question. Will that deck be available today? Because I have a meeting where I'm presenting to the chamber on Thursday.
Nice. I saw Michael give a thumbs up.
Yeah, I'll email you one now. I'll flick one across to you now.
That would be perfect.
Awesome.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Easy. We don't want to miss those opportunities. Not at all.
Yeah. Awesome. And if anybody else wants that deck right away, just reach out to your Vendasta rep. We'll be sure to get it out to you. But again, thanks to everyone for your time. Hope to see everyone on the Conquer Local Think Tank this afternoon with Dennis Yu. We still have that, in a few hours. So hope to see everyone there. And yeah, we'll see you again next week. So watch for the follow-up and the invite for next week. So thanks everyone again, and I hope you have a healthy and safe weekend.